Good evening, and welcome to Blue Table Talk. We're so excited to be back. We took a couple of weeks off. We had a couple family functions going on and trips, but that's all over, and we're back to the awareness. So, welcome back. I'm glad you all here to join us tonight. So, here's another edition of Blue Table Talk. So today we're going to talk about what do speech and language pathologists do to help people with autism. So, Mr. Brady, how important is the speech and language pathologist for a child diagnosed with autism?
Well, because language is usually the first sign that something is not right. The communication between the parents and the child is usually not developing as we would want it to, and the parents become concerned. And this is why it is so important that if you have a child that has been diagnosed with autism, it is very important for you to establish conversations with the speech-language pathologist, because it is language that we use to organize our world. It is language that we use to negotiate in our world. It is language that we use to navigate in our world. It's language that we use to create and we use to learn. So it is extremely important for there to be a productive and relevant and rewarding conversation between the caregivers of a person with autism and that speech language pathologist. And unfortunately, I don't see that happening. I had a situation about a week ago in which a child with autism had graduated from high school. And the parents were concerned. This is a high-functioning child with autism. The parents were concerned because the child says, I want to go to college.
Okay.
And the school did not give him any direction in terms of going to college. They suggested that he participate in a program with the school for people with autism, high functioning autism, to become involved in learning life skills. I thought that was a real disservice. But what was even more disheartening was the fact that when I asked the mother, well, what has he been working on in school? What are his interests? What does he like to do? The mother could only tell me that, well, he likes computers. I said, well, what do you mean he likes computers? Does he like playing games on computers? Or yes, does he like building computers? Does he like fixing computers? Does he like programming? Well, she could not supply any answers for that. And that was really discouraging for me, because here is a child who has finished, 12 years?
Right, I was just going to say, you said high school.
Yeah, 12 years of school. And the mother not have a good handle on what her child has been doing, what the child's interests are. And there are just so many things for a person to do without going to college. And I really think that that's a disservice when people just talk about, oh, college, everybody has. No, everybody does not have to go to college.
That's true.
College is not for everybody. There are so many occupations and vocations out there that does not require a college degree. And when we start just steering people towards college, sometimes we're really missing what their real interest and what their real value could be.
Right, and especially for, what if they don't have a major, or like she didn't know what her child liked. So you just send them to college for what? And our kids, in the autism community, we need life skills.
Yes.
So we want our kids to know how to wash and go to the store, purchase things, add their numbers, bank accounts. So going to college is not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
And especially if you don't know, like she didn't know.
And colleges surely don't have all of the disciplines that are out here. I mean, the electrician, the plumber, the carpenter, radiology technicians, pharmacy technicians, a lot of jobs, a lot of occupations are out here that does not require a college degree. I have a young man now, he is in college, but he's in college for pottery.
Okay.
He is so good at pottery that he is now teaching blind students pottery.
Oh,
now,
wow.
this child will have a job for the rest of his life if he wants it, and a good job and a rewarding job. And there's many other occupations out there that people can go into. This is why it is so important that there is a good conversation, a frequent conversation between speech-language pathologists and the caregivers of people with autism. Because what I've also seen is that in many cases, in terms of therapy with people on the spectrum, there is a real push towards helping the person to develop compensatory strategies instead of developing natural strategies. And basically what that amounts to, it's neuroplasticity versus compensation. And what is compensation? Compensation is developing a substitute for something that is not there.
Okay.
And in many cases, people say the non-verbal, the non-vocal verbal child with autism, they want to develop compensation. They want to develop compensatory strategies for this child without having a good program that based upon neuroplasticity where vocal verbal behavior could be developed. And this is what we really want to make a distinction between, because I oftentimes hear a lot of people say the child is non-verbal. Well, verbal refers primarily to words. And to say that the child is non-verbal, are you saying that the child doesn't understand words? Or that the child doesn't speak words or understand words? What is it? So you have to make the distinction that the child might be vocal verbal. That is, the child does not produce words, but does understand words. So those distinctions have to be made. But what does speech-language pathology have to offer autism? It has the ability to offer to a person on the autism spectrum oral language.
Okay.
And oral language, of course, is the most powerful tool. It's the most powerful weapon. It's the most powerful medicine we have on this planet.
Okay. And I remember in our first episode when we talked about fast forward, and we talked about how it wasn't a lot of speech and language pathologists on the south side with that program. And the same as far as the schools, as far as the social skills to teach the kid. And why we touched on a little bit, why is that? And you said because the program is so expensive as far as getting the program, so that's probably why a lot of the speech therapists wouldn't have that program to offer far as fast forward.
Right. It's an expensive program for an individual, but for a group of people. See, one of the unfortunate condition is that too many parents try to go it alone.
Okay.
They do not seek out professional help. They do not try to form support groups like you all have done, which is a wonderful thing where you can share information.
Yeah.
You can share different strategies, and you can share different experiences that you've had in certain agencies and with certain therapies. You can share all of that information, and that brings a wealth of information to the table in terms of parents now being able to make good decisions about how to go forward. Believe me, there is a real gap between what is available in terms of autistic interventions and what is available in our communities. There is an enormous gap between those two. We oftentimes in therapy talk about habilitation, rehabilitation, compensatory, and coping. And what I see in many cases is that people are left with nothing but trying to cope with a bad, unfortunate situation, trying to cope with the situation when there are tools out there that can be very effective in terms of habilitation, in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of developing compensatory strategies. There are some wonderful tools out there, but parents and caregivers, they have to do more than sit back and wait for some school district agency to give them what they need. They can't sit back and wait for large medical institutions like the University of Chicago or University of Illinois or Rush or Northwestern to give them. They have to get on their horse, in a sense, and journey through the literature, journey through the different government programs that are researching these issues, researching these interventions. This is why that conversation with the speech-language pathologist is so important, because it is a part of our ethical standards that we continuously try to develop our knowledge and our experience with what is available, that is most current, that is evidence-based, and that can get some results. I have a young man now, high-functioning autism, who the parents had to pull him out of a historically black college, where his reading comprehension was just not fast enough or good enough or adequate, sufficient for him to continue in his program. So they pulled him out. They brought him to me, and he's currently working with me right now. As a matter of fact, he is on his 62nd calendar day as of today.
Okay.
But he has only been on the intervention programs for 38 days. When he came to me and we assessed his reading comprehension, he was reading at the 9th grade level.
Okay.
As you know, that's a freshman in high school.
Okay.
Well, maybe some students with that kind of reading proficiency could make it through college. I know a whole lot of them have, but it was not for him. He was reassessed today. He is now, his reading comprehension is on the 12th grade level in 38 days, and we have not been doing reading.
And what program was that?
Fast forward.
Oh, okay.
Fast forward.
Okay.
He did.
My favorite program.
He did literacy. He did literacy in, he did literacy in 19 days, literacy advanced in 16 days, and reading 3 in 9 days. He is now starting on reading 4. He jumped from the 47th percentile to the 83rd percentile for his age. His parents are jumping for joy, and he is looking forward to going back to college. But I told him, before you go back to college, he's all excited about going back to college, and he told his parents, I want to go back to college. I want to go back to college.
Okay.
And they said, no, you're not ready to go back to college yet. And I told him, by saying you're ready to go back to college, you're putting the cart before the horse. By just saying, I want to go to college, I want to go to college, I want to go to college. You need something to pull that cart.
Okay.
And this is what you're going to have to work on. You're going to have to work on some instrument, a horse in a sense, in a proverbial sense. You're going to have to work on your horse in order for that horse to pull that wagon. And so now me and him have this joke that he's working on his horse to pull his wagon to go back to college. And from all indications, he's going to go back.
Okay.
And
so
he's going to do well.
60, how many days you say he's been coming? 62?
62 calendar days.
Okay.
But he's only been on the programs for 38 days.
Okay,
and so in 38 days, he has made 3 years, 8 months progress. He has gone from the 47th percentile to the 83rd percentile for his age.
That's great. And was he coming here? Was he on the
No,
daily program, or he was doing
here.
it both?
He comes here. He comes here every day because the parent says he has nothing to do while he's sitting and trying to get himself ready to go back to college. So they have him come here.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, he only comes 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then he does the program at home 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's good. Like we said, it's accessible for them to do it at home, also if they don't want to. But I understand what she's saying about having something for him to do. And while he's not in school, and instead of just sitting home and halfway doing
TV
it,
or playing
he come
video
here
games,
and he can focus on the program. So that's why in the beginning, our first episode when we talked about fast forward and how important fast forward was, and it's an excellent program, and how many days you have to come for fast forward, but the technology makes it easier now, where you can do it at home. So.
There's another kid I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
And this is another child on the spectrum. He's 9 years old. Has all kind of therapies going. Occupational therapy, ABA therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy at school, special education at school. I told the parents I think it's just overwhelmed with therapies. Okay. And none of the therapies seem to have been improving him. It was a lot of compensatory and coping stuff. It was a lot of, okay, you won't get 20 spelling words, you'll get 10. All right? You don't have to read all of it, just some of it. A whole lot of that. You don't have to do 10 math problems. You do 5. A whole lot of that kind of stuff. Instead of trying to make his learning mechanism more efficient and better productive, Dave says, let's just help him kind of cope, and let's just give him some compensatory strategies and move him on up the ladder and out of the school and on into life. Now, I put him on a program because he was very slow in a lot of his work, and probably some of that, and he was always kind of sitting back waiting for someone to help him. I need somebody to help me. Can you help me? That was always kind of like his kind of thing when he was faced with a learning situation. Will somebody help me? Can I get some help over here? And probably some of that stuff he could have done. Okay. But he was looking for help. And so I put him on a program called the Interactive Metronome. Okay. This is a program that can change your internal clock. That is, it can change how you handle speed, how you handle time and distance, how you handle the timing of your responses to situations. His grandparents bring him. He has been doing the interactive metronome very successfully. He was reading at a rate of about 57, 60 words per minute. That is slower than the slowest freight train. When his grandmother heard him reading at a rate of 114 words per minute, she got up out of the seat in the waiting room and came in here and said, "Is that my grandson?"
Wow.
So, but what I'm saying is, instead of looking at compensation, we need to look at neuroplasticity. We need to change these structures, this brain, and change the functioning of this brain. And all it takes is getting that right exercise, that right intervention, and then get on a schedule and follow that schedule and just do the best that you can. And if you do the best that you can, something is going to change. And sometimes it's going to change enough to help you to really put some effort into what you're doing.
And you already talked about the brain can be retrained.
The brain can change. I go to my conferences, and that's all many of them are talking about. Neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity with the child with the speech articulation disorder. Neuroplasticity with the autistic child who's having difficulty with social skills. I had a little boy, they wanted to start medicating him with some drug over at the one of the major hospitals in order to make him more social. I told the parents, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Let's just take him to more parties or something, but please don't do that.
Or come to social Sundays.
Come to social Sundays. Exactly. Exactly.
Coming up.
Yes.
So, as we stated, Blue Table Talk is a community show. is for the autism community, and we just want to make everyone, all my Facebook and YouTube, we want to make aware about autism, because for us, autism doesn't end in April for us, so we want to keep bringing the awareness. So if you have anything you want to share, you want to talk about, you are welcome to come to Blue Table Talk. Blue Table Talk is open, it's for the community, for anybody who wants to come on the platform and talk about what they have going on. So you can reach out to me at All Families United. The number is 1-708-320-9018. And if you want to come and get these awesome programs, the Fast Forward program and a whole bunch of other excellent programs, you can come to Brady Speech, 5228 South Blackstone, and the number is 773-493-4000. Again, we're so glad to be back, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week on Blue Table Talk. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.